What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Beyond the 90. We've got a full panel for this preview, so welcome everybody. We've got Rich as per usual. We've got Mark as well. It's glad to have him on, and Alex as well. So yeah, welcome everybody. We're just going to get straight into it. Rich, so today we're going to talk about the preview for the Newcastle game, which is upcoming in a couple of days. And then, but first thing first, Rich, I just want to get your thoughts on Southampton. As you know, some people have been having an absolute meltdown at the same time, but I just want to get your immediate thoughts about it and your thoughts of how it's, because we've got 4 games now. It's in our hands. Let's go and achieve.
Look, it's one of those situations that I've been saying the whole time. It's disappointing. Yeah, of course it is. We want to beat teams like Southampton. Of course we do. But we didn't lose. And last season we would have lost. So for me, it's a case of one of the things that I've sort of realised is that a lot of these people that are kicking off and saying, oh, well, we're bottling it now, we're not getting top 4, blah, blah, and they're kicking off about that. When you look at what they predicted pre-season, they were saying, oh, 8th, 7th. So how can you be disappointed? Like, because the worst we're going to, even if, let's say, we drop off the face of a cliff and lose every game, we might end up 5th. But, like, so what? How can you be disappointed if your pre-season prediction was 8th, 7th, 9th, and now we're 3rd, realistically going to finish in the top 4. So for me, look, it was a disappointing result in regards to that. I think we should be beating those sorts of teams. However, we didn't lose, and that's what Brendan Rodgers says. If you can't win, do not lose. So I'm fine with it. Yes, it was frustrating. After the game, I was gutted, obviously, but look, when we get to the end of the season and we're still in the top 4, we're going to go, well, look, all those draws, they've added up to us being in this position. So it's really not the end of the world. Everyone needs to just calm.
Yeah, and that's it. What everybody needs to calm down. Even to Ant as well. Definitely not him. Yeah, definitely not, mate. We'll definitely go back and have a look at the videos and see if that's true. But no, that's fine. And then hey to Zayn as well. So hope you're doing well, mate. But yeah, we'll just get into that a little bit. Just we'll preview again. Alex has got to go slightly early, so I'll give you the initial thought. We'll go to straight into it now. Newcastle, again, they've been on a recent good form, and then it's kind of fallen off a cliff. They lost 2-0 to a terrible Arsenal team. Let me get up the results of the last few games. Again, I think they're just shy of they're a place just above the relegation zone, but they should be safe pretty much. But Alex, I don't know if you've watched a lot of Newcastle this season. They haven't been great. Let's just go to the main results again. So far, they've got a 2-0 loss to a really bad Arsenal team. Before that, 2-2 at Spurs, 1 against Burnley, 1 against West Ham, and drew against Liverpool. They just somehow, I say every season, they manage to get away with it. But what are your thoughts going into this game, Alex? Is this a game that you think we should be able to get 3 points quite easily?
I think it's not even a question. I think this is a game that we should be expecting 3 points. That's nothing towards Newcastle, because as you showed in their past games, they have been able to draw or beat teams that most of the time we wouldn't expect them to beat. So I still think that we need to bring 120%. There's no more of this, bring 50% of what we're willing to play, because I think if you look back at the Southampton game, I was very opposed to the result and all that. And we didn't really agree last week. But I was mainly I kind of was establishing the fact that I don't think Leicester really came in with that 120% mentality. They kind of expected to get those 3 points for Southampton. So I'm really hoping that this week on Friday, they will approach this game with the mindset of, we are not guaranteed to get these 3 points. Let's go into this game hungry, determined to get these 3 points. Because if we don't win this game, these last 3 games will be an absolute dogfight.
Yes, and we'll probably come into we'll get into them more as the previews come, because again, the fixtures are all over the place, especially with if there's going to be more protest against the Man United game on. We'll get to that at the weekend, so we'll see how that goes. But over to you, Mark. Just on that, we should be able to expect to beat Newcastle, surely. And coming into that, obviously, we've had 7 days rest as well. Surely, normally after 7 days, Brendan Rodgers gets the tactics a little bit more, gets his understanding of the team, and we normally push on to the next level.
Yeah, I think so. I think we will beat Newcastle. I don't think the guys will turn up expecting to beat them, because Newcastle are capable of putting a performance in and upsetting people. And as Alex said there, they're a side that are a bit dogged sometimes. They can grind results out. And the guy on my show the other day said that they're a typical Steve Bruce side, and that is right. What we've got to do on Friday is hit the ground running, really start with some purpose, and be a little bit more clinical, because we didn't look really like we were going to win the game at any given point on Friday night. That said, going back to what Rich said, he was absolutely spot on when he said about, it's not the end of the world. We didn't lose. And the pant wetting I've seen all over social media and in regards to the result has been nothing short of embarrassing. We're expecting the club to act like a big club. Yeah, as fans, some of the fans are viewing that we're going to lose the last 4 games without reply. That's not going to happen. My view is that we need to stay positive together. I think we will comfortably win against Newcastle. I think we're going to really put a statement in on Friday night, and I expect us to pick up at least 4 points in the last 3 games as well. And it won't be a repeat of last season. You can hold me to that. And if it is, then we'll have to wrap everything up, and I won't ever be seen again. But no, I'm expecting 3 points on Friday.
I think so too. I think obviously we're going into that as a threat, but back to you, Rich, kind of the same question. I know everybody's kind of touched on it now, but we should be able to expect 3 points, I think, coming into the thing. And Newcastle is safe, hopefully on the beach already. Again, I think the only player that's really playing for them is Joe Willock, and he's on loan to them at the moment. There's not really a lot going forward, but Steve Bruce, I don't really rate as a manager, to be honest. But we've had 7 days under our belt, as I was saying before. This should be 3 points, and then the focus should be right. The last 3 games of the season in the Premier League, let's secure top 4, which we kind of have at the moment. And then that other day, because the fixtures have been rearranged, so we've got Chelsea twice in 4 days as well. So that would be an interesting. But yeah, anyway, we'll back to that. We'll get on that in a second. But just your thoughts on Newcastle this season?
Appalling. Just an absolute. A waste of a football team. And no, look, I've got this actually there's 2 Newcastle fans, like diehard Newcastle fans that I work with. Both of them lifelong, born in the area and then moved here, and they just they are absolute, Newcastle diehard fans. And they are just so disappointed and so disillusioned with the club and just fed up. They hate Mike Ashley with a passion. And it's to the stage of if there was a terrible accident to happen, they would be okay with it. And I don't, that sounds horrible. And I don't mean to make light of anything like that. But they're like, I cannot stand him. And if it means that getting him out, we're fine with it. And it's like, Jesus. So, he is sorely hated throughout the fans, as we all know. But for me, it's a game that we should get 3 points. Look, if we lose, I'll be very angry. If we draw, I'll be disappointed. But, look, it's the Premier League. Every game's a tough game. It's, you can't take any game for granted. So, yes, I do think we'll get the 3 points. However, I'm not going to go in going, oh, yeah, we'll hammer them 4-0. I think it'll be 3-0. So, yeah.
I'm thinking, what, it could be one of those things. I think when they came to us last time, I remember they LCFC released a video recently of Ricardo storming from that left for the first goal, where we couldn't break them down. Then he dives in. I was like, wow, we've not seen that Ricardo for a while. But hopefully, with a bit more time under his belt, he can push on and get back into that. But just kind of, if you, Alex, just back onto you a little bit. Something that people have been criticizing, which I don't see. I was going to touch on formations, but I can't really see it changing. I can just see us playing pretty much the same team as we played in the previous game. But one person in particular that's been getting a lot of criticism, in my opinion, and not really rightfully so, is Luke Thomas. I mean, online, he's the only left wing player. I know we've got Ricardo, but I think Brendan Rodgers has made that clear that Ricardo isn't left-footed, so he's going to give Luke Thomas a go. He's not been amazing. He's not been great, but he's trying. And, when we had Ben Chilwell in the same situation, the fans were still giving him grief. And I think it's just the same situation here again. So what do you think the whole situation with Luke Thomas?
I think the fact that he's getting criticized is a load of malarkey, honestly, because, when you look at Thomas, he's a kid. He's young. He still needs to develop his skills. He needs to really, dive into those. And, he hasn't had those chances this year that, some other players would. Give the kid a break. Imagine you getting tossed in at the age of 19 and being like, okay, you're going to face off against 26, 27-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be terrible. So, you just got to be patient with them. And I think that's one thing that a lot of fans, lose sight of, is that they see this kid playing at the top level in England, and they're like, well, he must be absolutely amazing. Being like, well, at 19 years old, you have your wonder kids, but there's some other players that need time to develop, and I think Thomas is one of those players. I think Thomas is going to be an absolute fantastic player, but you just got to give him time. But going to the formations, I don't think Rodgers is going to switch. Don't fix what's broken, and what are you going to do? Which formation is he going to use? Is he going to duct tape Barnes's legs together and be like, hey, you're back? It's just. And then when we go back to Ricardo, taking over for Thomas, we already know that Ricardo is not 100%. So why would you put in a player who's not 100% in when you have a young player who can really learn in these last final games and develop, rather than take the chance of possibly losing Ricardo for another 6 months?
Yes, exactly. And that's the game. Just a quick one as well. If you'd like to share the video, also leave any comments below. If there's any questions that you want us to answer regarding the upcoming games, any fixtures or anything, let us know. We'll get back to them as soon as possible. But yeah, Ant puts in again. If we lose Gozens, send him to the Championship on loan next year. I think maybe we could do, but again, bearing in mind, if we lose Gozens and then we're looking at Ricardo's not fully fit, we need somebody in that position. So Luke, I think the year to send him was potentially last year, this year going. So it's I'm not sure. I'm not sure I quite agree with you there, but Mark, just kind of a similar thing. We'll move on to something that Brendan Rodgers has come out. His press conference was today, and something that we've been talking about. We've kind of known for a while, but just that Brendan Rodgers has clarified. Jamie Vardy is still nursing an injury. I think we've seen that. He's kind of not really hitting the top form as we know he could be. Johnny Evans has also been nursing an injury, which one of them that completely surprised on me as well. And James Maddison, we know he's not quite hit them same levels. Partly is because he's still, Brendan Rodgers, I think, come in his press conference as he's coming back to full fitness. So out of them three very key players to us, Mark, you definitely agree there, the three big players, but it's probably not an excuse, but it's part of the reason why Leicester aren't performing as well as potentially they could be.
Yeah, I think this is a bit of clever management from Brendan Rodgers as well, because I think he'll know that there's quite a lot of heat on, especially James Maddison at the moment. Because it's all built up into a perfect storm for him, really, hasn't it? With the party and antics and some really, really poor performances. And I think at St Mary's he was the standout player really for me, that was well below par. So I think he's trying to take the pressure off him. Jamie Vardy, we know, is 100% fit as well. Does Jamie Vardy not being 100% fit means that he cuts back inside the defender and fires straight at the keeper the last game? I don't think so. I think it's Brendan Rodgers doing his thing, his man management, his arm around the shoulder, and really sort of trying to take some of this pressure off, because pressure can do funny things to players, can't it? Look at the back end of last year. He's going to want them in the right frame mentally as well. So I think they'll be fine. I think we can expect to see all three of those play on Friday night. And I wouldn't be surprised if after, like you say, a whole week with them, that we might see a different performance from James Maddison. Let's see.
Again, obviously with 7 days off, that could help. But just, Alex, I know you've got to go, but okay. See you later. So yeah. Anyway, over back to you, Rich. Alex is never appearing on the channel. No, I'm kidding. No, he'll be back for the next for tomorrow's match, Friday's match. Again, I don't know about you guys, but this Friday, Tuesday, Thursday schedule is really weird for me. COVID is weird enough, and then playing all these weird times and is weird enough. But over to you, Rich, in terms of got Vardy, Maddison, but as Mark was saying, it's just good management, isn't it? That again, we know Brendan Rodgers is good at this. He's good at man management. He's good at taking the pressure off certain players and away from the media a little bit more as well.
Absolutely. I mean, just quickly, and I'm gutted that Alex isn't here for this, and I hope he watches this back and hears this, that his use of the word malarkey is probably the most Canadian thing I've ever heard in my life. And yeah, thank you for that moment, Alex. No, yeah, when we talk about, players and players fitness, and just quickly to go back to one of your points there about Luke Thomas, if you wouldn't mind, just quickly.
Yes, go for it.
I think a key point is that James Justin should hopefully be back for the start of next season, which is a key thing, because his left back form was incredible, and he can play left back, right back. He can play in goal if you want him to. He'll take over as ref. He'll do a good job. And also, obviously, they've talked a lot about Castagna can also be that utility player on left and right. So I think with Luke Thomas, I do think he has a little bit. If James Justin comes back into the frame, and we've got a fully fit Castagna, fully fit Ricardo, and obviously this new player as well, I do think we've got a little bit of thing, as long as we let him out on loan with the option to bring back, unlike what we've done with obviously KDH. That's just been, that's been a nightmare. However, I think that he is. Look, personally, I don't think he's ready. I think he's struggling. And unlike James Justin, who took that opportunity and just leveled up 3 or 4, he seems to be improving, but not to the level which we need. Personally, I think that. Now, I do think he will be in probably next season after, by mid to end of it. At this moment, I have not really got that confidence in him. So for me, once James Justin's back, if we do get Gosen, and we've got Ricardo and Castagna, I think we've got some brilliant options there, and we can let him out on loan with the option to bring him back at any time. But sorry, just to quickly go back to your question. Maddison is definitely not looking fit at all. And I think that genuinely this whole thing with the party is playing on his mind, because he seems like a person that takes what fans think and say to heart. So I genuinely think that the fans' reaction of get him out, he doesn't care, he's not, blah, 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 because I've seen a lot of it where they've been like, all the players should be got rid of, and they're not playing, and Maddison's not playing, he's playing terrible, so he's obviously not bothered. I'm like, no, that's the complete opposite. I think he's very bothered. I think it actually emotionally affects him because of how personable he is. So I think that's affecting him in a negative way as well. And then his fitness isn't great, so he's not playing brilliant. So hopefully get to the end of the season, have the season break, and then come back next year. And I think hopefully everyone will have forgotten about it, and we'll move on from there.
Yeah, and no, I definitely agree there. And just coming back to obviously on the injury, we'll just touch on James Maddison, just to get your thoughts on it, Mark, as well, about the James Maddison situation.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's good management from Brendan Rodgers. He's a quality player, James Maddison. I think Richie's absolutely put that perfectly there around the mental psyche that can tap into a player. And he's right. This is a guy that does interact occasionally with fans on social media. He's probably found it hard the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks, but he's got to learn from this, and he's got to become stronger. So it's not down to anyone else to pick him up now. It's up to him to sort of go out and do it. And I believe that he will. I think he's a quality player. What I will say, and what I believe is, I don't think he should go to the Euros this summer. I don't think he's one of England's best options. And I think it will do him the world of good not to go this summer, because he'll, again, learn from that, come back a better player and a better person from it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've seen on Twitter, especially over the last couple of days as well. There's something I want to come on to in a second in terms of corners and stuff. But with the players that are performing at the moment, obviously Jack Grealish, there's obviously the 4 positions. With it being up to 26, there is the option of taking all of them. Will Southgate do it? We don't know. I don't think we really have. To be honest, we'll see. We'll in my opinion, we'll probably see them positions filled by defensive players over attacking players. It is what it is with Gareth Southgate. So I agree with you. I can't see him going, to be honest. And something that I've just read as well just before, Rich, Evans is nursing a back injury as well. So, and that's something that's happened, and he's been playing through it. I mean, he scored in I think the last couple of with Newcastle. He scored against West Brom, and he scored against Southampton as well. But he's just putting in a brilliant performances, and we've seen before where some people have said, "Oh, he should be dropped." And I mean, he's an invaluable person to this squad, and his performances levels have just been, again. We've expected the defensive side of him, and also some of the long balls that he's played have been fantastic and not been overlooked, have been completely overlooked. But also now he's scoring from them from positions where he shouldn't really be scoring in a positive way. I mean, but yeah, even though he's nursing an injury, it just shows you his professionalism and the level of how well he's doing.
Yeah, he's the Terminator. Like they've said, Brendan Rodgers has come out a few times and mentioned how he's playing with an injury. Hello, Ethan. How he's playing through injuries and how though I'm sure there were, yeah, exactly. He's just proper Northern Irish, isn't he? He's just, you know what I mean? He is Northern Ireland. So no, he doesn't care. He plays through it. He is the Terminator. And to be honest with you, anyone that says he needs dropping, it is.
They need dropping.
I'm so glad you said that. No, they have been dropped on their head. Like he gives so much to the team in regards to the structure and he is the person that organises that back line. Without him, I love Soyuncu and I love Fofana, but without him, they are just running around. They're like ants that never know where they're just constantly changing. Whereas he gives them that formation and that structure, and he's telling them where to go. He's the only person I've heard. And all the games I've listened to, and bear in mind, I never listen to it with the crowd noise. I can't stand it. So I listen. So I hear all of the screaming and the shouting. You always hear Casper screaming. He's the only person that I've heard scream at Casper for doing so. So he had to go at Schmeichel for kicking it out or something. And I just heard him scream at him. I thought, bloody hell, you're brave. But he's the only one that's done it. So everyone else is just like, oh, yeah, okay, Casper, sorry. And he's just saying, like, what are you doing, you idiot? So for me, he adds so much more. It's like Vardy. He adds so much more to our game than just goals. And Evans is the exact, obviously the other side of things. He offers so much more than just defending himself. He makes our defence so much stronger.
Yeah, no, I totally agree there. There's something that I want to bring it onto as well. I don't know if you've heard of somebody called Dominic Wells. I've actually left the link in the description for everybody to have a look on as well. I don't know if you saw that recently, Mark, the corner thing that he mentioned.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a nerd, so I really like his stats that he brings up. So I think his corner analysis was something around the takers of the corner and the success percentage of the London and Leicester players had, and also the position of the centre backs when that was coming in as well. So am I right in saying Yuri Tielemans didn't land a corner on anyone in a blue shirt's head until March this year, February this year?
Yes.
That's a crazy stat because the last few games, his corners have seemed a lot more dangerous than anyone else's. So yeah, really good analysis from Dominic there as well. I think we've looked a little bit more dangerous at set pieces recently.
Yes, and we have been more dangerous as well. I don't know, the Southampton one wasn't exactly a set piece, but it was kind of a similar angle. So you could not, I wouldn't say count as set piece, but it's a good step in the right direction towards. Because that's the one gripe we've had with it, where set pieces we've not been as strong. But for those of you that, again, I don't know, we'll cover over it briefly. But if you want to look, the link in the description for you as well. But I don't want to. But basically, he goes through. Let me try and bring it up to screen if I can figure out this works. There we go. Figure out how it works here. So. He decides to go into each of the LCFC corners and he compares Maddison's to Tielemans, and Tielemans hasn't played until March 21st. I mean, it's not great, and they're talking about obviously Soyuncu and Tielemans as well. Again, the quality of delivery hasn't been good this season, and statistics lean towards Maddison as a more consistent taker over Tielemans. I don't want to go quote for quote into everything that you do, because I would like you guys to go and read it and show him some support rather than showing support, but just to bring it to your attention as well. But just from that, Rich, I know we've talked about this before. Like set pieces, we've not been really that great, but again, as Mark was saying, we are slowly getting there, and it does help with Maddison coming in, or Maddison coming into that position and getting the corners in properly. And I think was it all Brighton again was on corners when he's on, and that for me makes a massive difference as well.
That's exactly what I was about to say. The only person that, if he was on all the time, should be taking our James. See you soon, mate. The only player that should be on corners for us if he's on is Mark Albrighton, because it was when we went that absolute ages from from scoring from a set piece, it was Mark Albrighton that got the first goal from it. So his delivery from set pieces is sublime, absolutely sublime. And it causes far more, if out of 10, you could probably say at least 7 or 8 of them will be in a dangerous position. Whereas Maddison, it was probably around 5. Tielemans, not much better. So for me, I don't know what it is, but Albrighton for me is a much better crosser of the ball, especially from dead ball situations. So if he's on, he should be taking them. But yeah, it's an area we're lacking when you consider that we've got Fofana that can jump for days, you've got Ndidi that can jump for days, you've got Evans, and you've got Soyuncu. We've got players that we should be putting the ball in the back of the net. We should be dangerous from set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, we're just not. I don't know why, but I don't think people look at that as, if someone's doing like Newcastle, I don't think Steve Bruce is going to be going, right, we need to look at how we're going to defend their set pieces. It's really not going to be an area they're going to waste any time on. So we need to get better.
Yes, and we do need to capitalise on, not just in terms of corners as well, free kicks as well. I think Ethan mentioned as well. Maddison at free kicks wasn't great before his injury, and it's something that I mentioned on the post match. I mentioned that the problem is with Maddison, where again I can't criticise him too much because he was one of the only people that was having a go from outside the box and actually getting shots on target. And some of them, there were good saves by McCarthy, and he deserve a lot of credit as well. However, he's one of those things where it stands out a lot more, Mark, when he doesn't score. When he has 7 free kicks, and one of them goes in the match, that's all we're talking about, because it's an absolute beauty. But it's that fine margin, isn't it, between playing it safe and the keeper saving it, putting it into a corner where the keeper can't save it, or going wide of the post. And I think with injuries, hopefully in the summer, he can get fit and he can improve on that. Because when we signed him at the beginning, he was just phenomenal, but there's levels obviously are hard to keep up at the same time.
Yeah, he's a good player, Neil. People seem to, for whatever reason, go to the polar extremes, don't they? They're either absolutely rubbish and they need to leave, or, they're Lionel Messi in Leicester City form. So, we need to be really careful and understand that he's a human being. I think he's a very good footballer. He's not in a great period of form at the moment. In terms of his free kick ability, I think he's probably one of the best free kick takers I've seen at Leicester in my lifetime so far. I can't think of many better. The clean strike, the whip on the ball. He fancies himself as a bit of David Beckham, didn't he? So you can certainly see that coming through
as well from old school.
Yeah,
bit of Muzzy about him.
Yeah. I won't go that far.
Okay, fair enough. No worries. But yes, one thing I want to bring it onto as well. So kind of before we finish, Mark, is there anybody that really you're threatened by in kind of a Newcastle because obviously we changed formation when they went to when they went down to 10 men, and we brought on Ayoze Perez for Wesley Fofana. But the threat from Newcastle is going to be, in my opinion, going forward just as bleak. They're going to set up deep. They're not going to really attack that much. But can you see any real threats? I mean, Fabian Schär is out of it because he got a red card, and I think injury-wise, I think they've got not too many injuries. But is there anybody that you say, right, they're a bit of a threat for Newcastle?
I think you'd look at Saint-Maximin, wouldn't you? He's a player that I've watched quite a bit recently. I've watched Newcastle a few times, and he is quality on the ball. He's got a bit of unpredictability about him, whether that be good or bad at different times, and he can make things happen. So in a game where we're probably going to be having most of the possession and most of the attacking intent, he's dangerous because we know that we can get caught on the break sometimes. And then adding into that, Callum Wilson as well. He seems to like a goal against us, if I remember from his Bournemouth days. So we've got to be careful not to dismiss them. I know what you're saying. I know that I personally think they're a poor team, but they can put a performance. This is a must-win game tomorrow. Make no mistake about that. We have to come away with 3 points, and we will.
Yeah, I think we will as well. Rich, same question over to yes, that could be the case. But over to you, Rich. It's kind of similar questions. Are anybody really fear? Normally, you could name a few players, but Newcastle, I think Mark's hit that quite well, isn't he?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Mark said, to be honest with you. And that's a good sign. It's difficult to name anyone that you're really that bothered about. I randomly, but he hasn't seemed to be in favour at the moment. It's the only one I was used to be worried about was John Joe Shelby.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
He's always, I don't know what it is about him. It's just like, I see him and I'm like, oh God, he's going to score, isn't he? He's going to set something up, isn't he? But no, I'm not really that worried. It is what it is. Look, to be honest with you, again, and not to disagree with anything Mark said, everything he said is great. I don't believe in the term must win because I don't think it is a must win because we can still get top 4 and not win this game. It's still, the must win was Man United last season. That was a must win. You had to win that to get the top 4. So I agree with I do agree with what Mark's saying in regards to it's the easiest game we're going to have now until the end of the season. In regards to if you look at the opponents on paper. But no, I to be honest with you, Mark said it perfectly in regards to who's to worry about. So if John Joe Shelby comes on, I might be a bit of squeaky, what time. But other than that, no, it's, yeah, it's fine.
Probably do our usual Leicester City thing and let Andy Carroll come on and back a couple against us. So
see, Bruce will probably put his boots on and come and do something. But yeah,
one player as well. Okay, Dubravka, when he's on form, he can be quite good at defending set pieces as well. But yeah, again, there's not too many performances. Somebody's put before so Maximan, Callum Wilson, sure, Miguel Almiron, and I went, and I'm not going to get that comment up, Ethan, but I don't think he deserves to be honest, be mentioned in that same thing as well. Hassan's mentioned, have we signed Jacob Tarkowski? You can ask him yourself, mate. He's in the chat. He's ready to go. So, James, if you're ready, mate, we'd love to get you on exclusive one. Anyway, a little bit. Yes, and what's the other thing? Not a must win, but must pick up 3 points. It's kind of the same thing. But one thing as well, I wanted to bring it back because I saw this comment from Ethan. I thought it was quite interesting. And correct me if I'm wrong, but would we be awarded a penalty since Brentford FA Cup game? I think Ethan might be right. I can't think of a time when we've got a penalty since then, if anybody can think of one. But I think that's true as well.
I think we used to up all our penalties in the first 7 or 8 games of the season.
Yes,
where
we did.
Like
Taken by Mr. Vardy himself.
Yeah.
Yes, Jamie Vardy scored quite a lot. And again, that's one thing that hasn't been mentioned as much. I think he's got 14 goals, 6, I think, which are penalties. So that's quite a high number of ratio. So,
I said that originally when we were talking about Harvey Barnes as well, because originally Harvey Barnes had more goals from open play. So everyone was like, oh, look, Jamie Vardy's going to do it again. He's going to get a golden boot. And I remember saying on this podcast, I was like, well, actually, if you look at Harvey Barnes' goals ratio, he's actually got more goals from open play than Jamie Vardy has at this point, because Vardy's just netting, don't be wrong, just like it's easy. But he, most of his goals were coming from penalties. But anyway, sorry for interrupting me.
No worries. Anytime. One thing I was wanting to mention as well is, so I don't know if you guys, I don't play FIFA. I'm not really too interested in it, but they came out with the team of the year, which isn't really a team. It's just their best 15 players or so. I don't know if you guys have actually saw it. I'll get it up on screen now.
Vardy and Fofana, weren't they?
Vardy and Fofana, out of all the... Again, I'm glad Leicester players have been included. And it's funny, Arsenal must be a bit crying a little bit because they don't have a single player in there. But out of the 2 players, that I don't want to criticise it too much because I'm glad we've been mentioned. But out of the 2 players that have mentioned, where has he gone? Jamie Vardy and Wesley Fofana. I mean, in my opinion, neither of them. So I'm currently planning the end of season awards. I'm doing a lot of work on that, and I'm really excited to bring you that. However, neither of them actually getting in my player of the season just for Leicester, Mark. I don't know what your thoughts on that.
No, probably. I really like, obviously, love Vardy. I really like Wes Fofana, and I think he's going to be huge for us for many years until Man United spend about £4 billion on him. But for me, Yuri Tillemans has been our player of the season so far. I think he's had a really poor last couple of games, actually. But over the course of the whole season, I think he's been absolutely superb. You've got Harvey Barnes, who's been brilliant. Maybe these guys at EA are, a bit scared of Jamie Vardy and what might happen if they don't put him in there.
Yeah, exactly. They saw what he did with the... Did you see what he did with the plaque? I think it was 2016 where he broke it with his head. But yes, over to you, Rich. I know we're kind of complaining over spilt milk a little bit because it's like there's nothing we can do. But at the same time, out of the players that were mentioned, I was so surprised to see Jamie Vardy and Wesley Fofana on that list. Surely it's going to be like Evans and Tillemans, or Ndidi and Tillemans.
I was thinking Evans, Tillemans, and to be honest with you, I think one of our unsung heroes of the season was Schmeichel. I think he's had an absolute fantastic season. The amount of saves he's made they're worth a goal, without a doubt, worth a goal. So I think we've had. Yeah, I think it's great that like you say, we're getting the recognition. We've got players that are in there, but Jamie Vardy. Well, James Justin deserves to be in it over Jamie Vardy, and so. But yeah, hey, we're in there, fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Put it's for all I care. Put Luke Thomas in. Our names in it. That's great.
And it's good that we've actually got mentioned. I mean, it's just saying that there is no Tottenham, there's no Arsenal people is kind of it. It doesn't make sense. I mean, Saka potentially could get in there, but against some of these people, I mean, some of the likes of I get it. I mean, looking at the likes of Ruben Diaz has been phenomenal this season. Marcus Rashford was a bit of a strange one for me. I mean, we're talking about specifically Premier League in this case. I don't think he's been tearing it up as the top 15 players. But yes, so one of the things is that Thomas Souček gets in, Mason Mount gets in because I think he's a good player, but I'm half and half between like he's a great player and he's overrated at the same time. This guy, I kind of flip between these two bits about it, but yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I've got. But coming on again, it's strange because normally we talk about the Newcastle game, we break it down. We normally do the formations, break it down, but I can't really see much changing, and we've kind of covered the majority of it. Unless there's anything you'd like to add.
No, the only thing I would say is I do see Ricardo Pereira coming back in for Friday for Thomas to take the pressure off Luke Thomas because, as Richie said before, he's been thrown in at the deep end here. And I can see Castagna moving over to left back, and I think we might see a bit more of a glimpse of the real Ricardo on Friday night.
Yes. What do you think of that, Rich? Okay, obviously, he's a player that's not been playing of recent, but with a couple of weeks rest, I mean, that could really do him some good.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. It's a game that we could risk it. I agree. I think Mark's right. And, look, if you get, although, the counter argument to that is it's also a game that, you don't really need to worry too much about who's in your left back position. So, it might be a good experience. But no, I agree. I think Castagna's going to go over to the left. Ricardo's on the right. And they're going to run right on there. Do you mind if I ask a question to you guys?
Go for it.
I want to throw you under the bus here. I was thinking about this earlier. If you could pick one Premier League player who you realistically think we can get, you can't pick someone ridiculous, but so a player that you realistically think we could get. Who would you have?
Out of all the teams.
One. Yeah, of all the teams, I've got a bit of a random one that we've talked about. We've been linked with before, and a load of people kicked off, but I think he's done really well. So, but I'm interested to see.
Yeah, I really like Pedro Neto at Wolves. He's only young guy. He's been injured a little bit. I'm based in the West Mids, and I see a bit of him, and I think he looked great in a bit of navy blue. It'd be all right.
You'll be.
That's a good one. I was trying to think of another player that I watched. One that I saw recently that we could get that I really enjoyed watching was what was his name? Eze from Crystal Palace. I thought he's a player again, a winger that can that if Brendan Rodgers goes, you just do what you need to do, and he goes, oh thank God. And when at times he would just be able to just take on players, and he took on 2 Leicester players without thinking, but there was nobody in the box to cross it to. There was no ambition to get it in. It's Roy tactics, I think. What's it called? Ali's been on this program before and talked about that as well. But yeah, people are saying we need a right winger, and then Zaha as well. Is that who you were coming to, Rich? Or is
no,
that
it isn't actually. I was right. So I'd like to be able to explain my decision before I get thrown under the bus by myself. But no, I was thinking Lingard. Because I think
100%.
honestly, I know we were linked with him, and those people are like, God, I don't want him. He's gone to West Ham and he's destroying it.
Yeah.
Like he's involved in so many goals, and he's either scoring them or he's setting them up. Look how well he did against us. And and I looked, I thought, God, he's playing really well. And I looked into it, I was like, oh my God, he's like been involved in pretty much in every game. He's been involved in a goal in some way, shape, or form. I was like, okay, that's why we were linked with him. And oh God, I wish, for me, as an attacking player that, when we're struggling with the likes of Maddison and Perez, Lingard, you know what I mean? So yeah, for me, it would be, that would be one. I'm now expecting a load of abuse. I'm all right. I'm ready for it.
I don't think you'll get it, especially with how well he's done, because there was a lot of hype around Lingard, and rightfully so. But since he's not been hitting them forms and West Ham haven't been doing as good, and Kelechi Iheanacho has continued to rise, I've not seen that same level of hype continue over to Kelechi Iheanacho. That's my only. I think you guys would agree as well. It's not this. There's not like that same level. Lingard's doing well, and rightfully so. But when Iheanacho overtook him, I think that would be great. Ones Ethan just put in the comments. Or take Giroud, which is an interesting one. I mean, for a 60-minute substitute, the kind of the Leonardo Ajoro effect, but better. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he would come to us because he seems quite. What's the word? It would be a bit of a downgrade to move from London to Leicester in his like quite French eyes. Yeah, I want to go to Milan. I want to go to Paris. I don't want to go to Leicester.
There's no finer place on this earth than Abbey Park on a nice summer's day. I think we've probably got our 60-minute substitute ready and waiting though over the next couple of seasons. I think that's probably where Vardy will be heading towards, isn't it? So. I don't think we'll go for a player like that. Lingard, in my opinion, would be exactly what we need. And I can't imagine that I would have said that a few weeks ago. But you get these situations where a player comes out of a club like Manchester United, the big clubs, the pressure comes off the shoulders, all the hate from that fan base, vile hate that they get, and they go and just enjoy playing football again. And that's what he's doing. And he's been absolutely superb since the turn of the year.
Yeah. I don't know if you've got anything else to add to that. Rich?
No, I think we can all agree that my play was the best. No, it was. I was thinking about.
Did you just throw the ball up and then smack it yourself? That was a good shot, wasn't it? That was amazing. I hit it out of the park.
Yeah, mate, I built the park and then knocked it out. No,
built the machine and then fired it out of the cannon.
Exactly. No, I just find it interesting to sort of get, because I find it really, like Zaha is a great shout. Eze, it was a brilliant shout as well, because I was like, oh my god, he's great. And Neto, I just find it really interesting to see what other people think and where their heads at and why. Why they think that. So I'd have been interested with Alex's opinion as well. But yeah, it's probably he'd pick someone who's up to some malarkey at the moment. But other than that, we're all good. I'm gonna team about that so much. I love it.
It's fine. I've heard it before, like a few times on this show. Because obviously, imagine off camera, he says different words. But yes, one person that I would just add before that I think is underrated is Mikel Antonio. I think he would be phenomenal at Leicester City. I'm a very, very big fan of him. Raid Crystal Palace, which is, I see what you mean. Especially, I think, without Ali on, and they've got 10 players out of contract at the end of the season. That is a phenomenal amount of. I know they've got a not aging squad, but 10 players. That's really bad management, in my opinion. Anyway, Mikel Antonio is perfect. He's direct. He's good in the air. His hold up ball play is good. He's quick. He's physical. I'm just a massive fan of his in general. Yeah, good shout. But yes, if there's anything else, I think. But we're going to Sam Johnson of Future Casper Schmeichel. We'll have to see about that. Again, I think he's been linked with the big clubs at the moment. But thank you everybody for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure to go and make sure to go and follow Mark's podcast down below. I've linked his Twitter. You can find it through his bio as well. So he's got some great interviews on there as well. Follow Richie, his link is in the description as well. So thank you very much for watching. Staying to the end, really appreciate it. We'll see everybody in the next video. And 3 points. It's not a must win, but we'll do an Alex. It's not a must win, but what did he say? But we need 3 points. Yeah, we must get 3 points. We must get 3 points. That'll do. Nice one, guys. I'll see everybody later. Goodbye.